and welcome once again to the show that fuels your appetite for adrenaline and alternative sports. Coming up this week, we're back in Holland for stage 3 of the UCI BMX World Cup. Then we stay on two wheels but turn our attention to an epic cycle race of over 1,000 kilometres. That's the Peak Break from Austria. All that to come, but first we spend some time with top ice climber Danny Arnold as he takes us through his life and love for the sport he excels in.
Daniel Arnold was born in 1984 in the canton of Uri, Switzerland, and brought up in the tiny mountain village of Biel in the heart of the Swiss Alps. As a child, he took a cable car to school as the village was not accessible by road in the winter. Surrounded by mountains, Danny and his brother were introduced to all sides of mountain life, hiking, skiing and climbing in the beautiful surrounding landscape.
Mein Bruder und ich haben von der Mutter
My brother and I took flour from my mother's kitchen, dusting our hands with it before climbing up the wall our father had made for us. We felt strong because we had the same white hands as the people we saw in the films.
Auch weiße Hände wie die im Film, wo wir halt gesehen haben.
Given his inherent skill, speed, strength and determination, he has gone on to do incredible things.
Ich sehe mich ziemlich stark als Bergsteiger,
I see myself as a mountaineer, an alpinist aiming to reach a high level across all disciplines of sport climbing, ice climbing and mountaineering, and a bit of skiing as well. It's always been my aim to be a complete mountaineer.
Hohes Niveau irgendwo zu erreichen. Also, das war immer schon das Ziel, irgendwo ein ziemlich kompletter Bergsteiger zu sein.
But under Danny's quiet, modest exterior, there's a lot more, a whole lot more. The north face of the Eiger is one of the most iconic and perilous faces in the European Alps. Since the first successful 3-day ascent of the Heikmeier route in 1938, 64 people have died attempting this face. Previously, Danny held the two-man team record at 6 hours 10 minutes. Then, in April 2011, he smashed Uli Stelk's solo record by 19 minutes, completing the route in 2 hours and 28 minutes.
Ich weiß gar nicht, wann ich das erste Mal durch den Eiger gestiegen bin.
Well, I don't really know when I climbed the Eiger north face for the first time. I think it took us about 13 hours. I knew then that it could be done faster, but the first big obstacle to overcome was to try it for the first time. At the beginning, it was really unpleasant. I was thinking, should I really do this or should I not? Then I took the decision, let's try it. The first couple of meters were amazing. I was just enjoying the climbing, doing what I'm best at, without thinking of anything else. It was truly liberating.
Und alles andere war weg, also es war so eine Befreiung, oder? Auf dem Gipfel, ich konnte es nicht fassen, also das ist...
After reaching the summit, I just couldn't believe it. I don't know how many times I've done the maths, verifying how fast I've been. On my way home, I sent a text to Uli Stelk. It was very important to me that he got the news from me and not through any other channels.
Über andere Kanäle das erfährt. Zum Rekord kann ich einfach sagen, dass wir sind
I can only say this about the record. We climbed the same route. The only difference was that I shortly used the rope at the Hinterstossier Traverse, which Uli didn't do. Everybody knows that you can only be as fast as the Eiger when conditions are perfect. It's the nature of things that conditions will never be the same on any given day. At the beginning, this record wasn't that important to me. Of course, I was happy to have broken it, but I still see myself as an ice and mixed climber. That's where my strengths are. But then I realised how important the record was. It was my stepping stone to becoming well known. On the other hand, I'm convinced that this route can be done even faster.
Ich bin ganz sicher, dass man da noch schneller klettern kann.
Now, looking back at it, I've learned a lot. If nowadays there's a dangerous situation, I can rely on my brain somehow doing the right thing, knowing that I take the right decisions when it really matters out there. I think that's crucial.
Dass mein Kopf da oben irgendwie richtig funktioniert. Wenn du weißt, dass du im entscheidenden Moment funktionierst, dann ist das ist, glaube ich, das Wichtigste. Es war noch interessant, einfach für mich zu spüren, dass wenn es
It was an interesting experience for me that after I'd put everything into one project, there's not much motivation left. It takes some time to be motivated again, to establish a new goal.
Nicht mehr so Lust oder so. Und dann braucht es einfach einige Zeit, wo du dann kommt die Lust wieder und hast ein anderes Ziel.
Danny found his mountain mojo, and even though he could have gone professional, he still kept his feet on the ground, so to speak, and continued his work as a mountain guide. When the call from David Lama came in for a trip to Alaska, he was excited to go to a new place and climb on the legendary Moose's Tooth. They were dropped on the Buckskin Glacier in the Denali National Park with no specific goal in mind, and they studied the face, and the head wall seemed too good to miss. This was going to be a first ascent for the formidable duo.
Anfang Jahr war ich mit David Lama in Patagonia.
Early in the year I went to Patagonia with David Lama. We attempted to do a project which didn't work out very well. At the end of the day we didn't reach any summits. We weren't successful and hence a bit disappointed. Then we decided to go to Alaska, as none of us had ever been there before.
Nach Alaska zu gehen war einfach simpel, wir beide waren noch nie dort.
We're doing the shopping for 3 weeks. I don't think we'll buy very much. We didn't think this through very well, as most of the food we bought there was frozen for eternity up there on the glacier.
Für die Ewigkeit zugefroren, also.
In Alaska, I was fascinated by the sheer size of the land. Of course, I'd seen the mountains on photos, but when you actually fly over them, it's awe-inspiring.
Wenn du mit dem Flieger diese geilen Berge fliegst, dann ist es einfach beeindruckend.
We flew to the glacier where we set up our base camp. I really enjoyed working together with them as a small team without being bothered by anyone
Es war
else.
uns gerade mal recht ohne viele Leute da, dass wir einfach unser Zeug gemacht haben. Das war einfach cool, in so einem kleinen Team sowas zu machen. Für mich war es
It was an amazing experience for me to climb with David Lama. He's not only a skilled cameraman and photographer, but he's also a strong climber, just like me, despite being much younger. Usually I'm the youngest in the team, and it was a bit strange that it was different this time around.
Jünger ist und sicher gleich so stark war, irgendwie komisch.
They were in base camp for just one night and awoke at 2 AM for a classic alpine start. They packed up and free climbed to the first 100 metres before getting into the Alaskan rock. They flew up the lower section, and it was 9 PM by the time they left the bivouac for the night.
Dan is goed.
Bivouacking is never very pleasant. It doesn't matter whether you do it in wintertime, in the Alps, the Himalayas, or in Patagonia or Alaska. It's always uncomfortable, cold, the usual problems, cold feet, cold hands. You spend your time waiting until you can start climbing again. It's as simple as that.
Das ist dann ziemlich simpel.
Alles klar, starten wir, oder?
Day 2 started with some cold Alaskan wind, but it didn't prevent the motivated pair from stripping down the equipment and going alpine style to the summit. The climb was more challenging than they'd expected. Exposed thin ice with some long runouts between one piece of protection and the next. At one point after a broken crimp, their ropes were hit by falling ice that could have ended their mission. However, they managed to reach the summit at 6 o'clock in the evening.
As a mountain guide, I should know all the summits around, but I don't. It's not as liberating as most people think. We don't think, oh yes, we've reached the summit and now it's all great. We're rather focused on descending as quickly and as safely as possible. It's only when you do the last step, once you know you're on the safe side, that you can really enjoy your feat. That's when the satisfaction kicks in.
Jetzt ist safe, dann kann man es genießen, oder? Dann ist so richtig die Befriedigung auch da, das geschafft zu haben.
As we flew away from the glacier, we were already thinking about the next time we'll have an experience like this. I was already missing the adventure, but at the same time, imagining it would be happening again soon.
Dem trauerst ja ein bisschen nach, du möchtest es bald wieder haben.
The pairing was incredibly successful, as was the overall trip. The pair decided to call the route on the east face of the Moose's Tooth Bird of Prey. Danny has travelled to the iconic Cerro range many times before with mixed success. In September 2012 he went with his brother Mario and Stefan Russ to attempt the highest of the granite peaks, Cerro Torre. They were turned back from the summit twice due to the weather. The highlight of his trips to Patagonia has to be with teammate Stefan Siegrist, when in August 2010 they completed the first successful winter ascent of Torre Egger, even after a scare on the way up.
I wanted to travel to Patagonia simply because everyone was raving about it. To this day, I've been there 2-3 times in summertime, and at least as many times in the winter. But every time I get there, I can't but think how perfect these mountains are.
Wenn du da hinten reinläufst und dann siehst du diese Berge, die sind einfach perfekt.
I've been at the foot of Cerro Torre 6 times, but I've never climbed up the mountain. At some point I thought I'd really like to go up that one. I've always had other goals to achieve, but no, I can't deny that I'd really love to climb Cerro Torre one day. We were 4 people and I'd never climbed together with Thomas and Thibaut. You never know beforehand whether a team is going to work out or not at all. However, in Patagonia we knew very soon that we would work perfectly as a team. It was really cool. They were a great team.
Schnell klar, dass wir super funktioniert haben. Also das ist echt cool. Also das Team war super. Thomas is 50 Jahre alt.
Thomas is 50 years of age, and it's cool to see how amazed and fascinated he still is about the mountains. It was very impressive and beautiful to see.
Einfach begeistert für die Berge sein kann. Das war extrem beeindruckt und einfach nur schön. Die ganze Route war dann ja nicht easy, aber
the route wasn't easy, but we climbed it fast. It worked out well. Once you reach the head wall, the terrain flattens out. We all thought, great, we'll reach the summit before long. It must just be around the corner. However, there was this massive rock ahead of us still.
Man war einfach nicht vorbereitet auf diese Seillänge, oder? Das war so.
We just weren't prepared for this pitch, and we thought, oh no, here's our challenge.
Ja, dann war dann klar, im Eis habe ich ziemlich viel Erfahrung.
Of course, because I'm quite experienced in the ice, they said, Danny, you lead this one.
Ein Part. War noch echt schwer, also der schwere Teil war.
The bottom part was the most difficult. There were 2 cracks of about 40 centimeters in the ice, but then further up the ice was getting better. We were extremely happy when reaching the summit, thinking that we'd really deserved this.
Dann mega glücklich natürlich, wo wir oben waren. Also das war dann schon so. Jetzt haben wir es uns verdient.
There's a tradition in Patagonia that people prepare barbecue following a successful ascent. It's quite nice to take part in an expedition that was not a near-death experience, simply climbing towards a goal. And if that goal happens to be Cerro Torre in winter, well, that's even nicer.
Nahe beim Tod vorbei ging es einfach nur mal zu klettern und irgendein Ziel zu erreichen. Wenn es dann noch der Cerro Torre im Winter ist, dann ist er noch doppelt gut.
And there's more ice climbing after the break. And later in the show, it's BMX action from Holland and an epic bike ride from Austria. See you in a couple of minutes.